Insurance, given that there's been a focus, particularly over the last, I suppose, couple of years on real estate transactions, people wanting to get into home ownership, and the question mark is about whether or not they take into account the cost of insurance for that particular house and the ongoing costs, because if you're borrowing on a home, you're required to have that insurance in place for the full term of the loan. I'll just read briefly. It says here, Regional Queensland Household Insurance Specialist Sure has released research showing many first home buyers up here hadn't factored in the cost of insurance cover when purchasing residential real estate. The research revealed only 40%, 2/5 of first home buyers across North FNQ who had obtained a household insurance premium quote from Sure had considered the cost of insuring a property they were looking to purchase. I can understand this because there's that level of excitement, and you can see the focus is very much getting over the line with actually beating off a lot of other bidders, for example, and other people in pursuit of their dream home. So suddenly you've signed the contract and it's, how much is insurance going to cost? And for how long are we going to have to be paying this? So Brad Heath said, given current cost of living pressures, concerns around the affordability of insurance, home insurance, and the threat of another La Nina, it's alarming buyers were failing to completely understand the cost of insurance in advance of acquiring a home. I put a call to Brad so he can expand on this particular matter. He's on the line. He's the Managing Director, Sure Insurance. Hello, Bradley.
Good morning, John.
Interesting, isn't it? In that frenzy of excitement, becoming an owner of a new property or whatever, I suppose it's almost human nature to put that into the background. You just want to get that contract signed and go out and have a celebration.
Look, exactly right. I mean, we're all the same with that. No one's any different. It's a good time. You know, we're buying something new. We've got our new home in front of us. But, you know, we all do things when we buy a house, such as get a building inspection or we get legal advice on the contract. And just take that little step extra is what we're saying to find out, well, you know, what is the cost of insurance for this house? And that also just reveals some other aspects of the house that maybe you haven't sort of looked into as to what is the relative risk of that house. I mean, if the insurance company gives you a price that sort of indicates that it might be a flood risk, well, you might want to take further inquiries too. So, look, there's a lot of things out of it, and understanding what the price is fundamental before, because you have to pay it every year, and that's something that people should factor into their budget. And at the moment, budgets for all of us are really difficult.
It's interesting, people buying their first home may not be aware also, if they're going into the bank or whatever to get the loan, the person who's providing that loan finance is going to demand that that particular property must be insured the whole time the loan's taken out.
Very true, and you know, often banks won't even extend the loan until you've provided proof of insurance. And of course, signing the contract and going through that due diligence process of buying it, you at some point in that, your solicitor will tell you exactly when you've got to take out insurance as well. So there's a few aspects to it, and we think the other aspect to it. We think people should be checking their prices all the time. Every year, every couple of years, at least look at your price. So whether you're buying a house or whether you're just renewing your existing one, check out the price. So obviously the best time to do it is when you're buying the house to find out if you're getting the best deal going in. Every dollar counts when you're buying a house. We all know, those little extra costs that creep in and, removal fees and stamp duty and all the solicitor's fees and everything. Well, this is just another cost that you really want to know. You want to go in eyes wide open on this, I think.
Interesting you mentioned here the La Nina as well, because I think people have been around for a while, have been also keeping their eyes, featured, focusing on the north. When the monsoon trough comes together, we all start searching the Coral Sea for any sort of intrusion by a circulation. Now, of course, when we've got a severe La Nina that you're referring to, the prospect of a worse than usual cyclone emerges. What's your advice in this particular case? You have made reference to that matter in this media release.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, clearly people in regional Queensland and the north are very used to this. They understand the different weather cycles. People know where to go to look for information and monitor what's going on. Going without insurance, whether you're buying a new house or you've got an existing house, is never a good idea. But so too is making sure you've got the right sum insured. and ultimately, as a result of all that, the right price. So it's something we would encourage now before, you know, the summer season really starts hitting us properly. Fingers crossed we don't see any cyclones. No one wants to see a cyclone. And we've been pretty fortunate, relatively speaking, in the last few years, and long may that continue for all of us. But now's the time, with a little bit of elevated risk. You know, the Weather Bureau is sort of not calling it as, you know, a huge elevated risk as per some previous La Nina periods, but it is still elevated. And that's just something, of course, we all, in the insurance side of things, spend a lot of time looking at and crossing our fingers for everyone's sake. So look, yeah, it's just an opportune time just to go out and get another price. Just make sure your cover's current, check your sum insured. I mean, I think, you know, we all know inflation's hitting us, and whether it be building costs or building materials, yeah, the cost of rebuilding your house is increasing, and that's the same all over this country. And we just have to be very careful that we are covered, because we do see situations, even outside of cyclones, where, you know, your house, unfortunately, houses do unfortunately burn down or get lost for other reasons. You know, big trees fall on them, and it's never pleasant when people aren't adequately sum insured. It does happen, and we should make sure we're all the right sum insured, because increasing your sum insured is from where it is to where you want it to be is often not as expensive as you think.
Now, just before you go, just briefly, because you're front and centre in the insurance business, are you hearing anything at all about the reinsurance pool, the so-called picnic or whatever? Because it's gone very, very quiet.
It has gone quiet. So the ARPC, which is the body charged with managing this, has put premiums out. We're not aware, I might be wrong, but we're not aware of any insurers who joined the pool yet, and there is a further inquiry starting in a few weeks' time, which I think is really a periodic review of it, to see, you know, what the views and what information insurers and other interested parties, such as body corporates and that, might be interested in saying. We've maintained our position, and our position is what we, as I've said many times now, it's the no disadvantage test, and simply put, what we're saying is that if the pool, if your insurance is cheaper than the pool, let us charge our lower price.
Yeah.
If the pool is cheaper, well, then we should be required to use the pool. So that's what we'll be repeating as part of this inquiry, and our position hasn't changed. And we think that's the fairest thing for the policyholders out there and for the people of regional Queensland.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're still looking at the numbers that are coming out. There's been different versions of numbers come out periodic where they've reviewed the rates several times, and they are listening to feedback at the ARPC, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're continuing to look at it and say, well, what is best for our policyholders, and we'll make a decision when that's a bit more apparent.
Yeah. Excellent update. Good on you, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
That's Bradley Heath. He's the Managing Director, Sure Insurance, SURE.